Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Slava Ukraina! Slava Ukraina!
Slava Ukraina. It started like that, but then it got real. Volodymyr Zelenskyy today, President of Ukraine, currently held up in a bunker somewhere in Kyiv, leading his people in a fight against a madman who is doing whatever he's doing for whatever reason, that it's a trillion gazillion dollar question of that nobody can answer. But man, was his speech powerful. Like it was not something to be trifled with. This guy came for real. Let me tell you something. You've got a guy who went to school, right, with the law school, political science, wanted to be an actor, became an actor, the most popular, YouTube and TV show over there called, We the People, about a teacher that goes on a rant that goes viral that eventually becomes president. And then, of course, the actual presidency. And today, as he has done throughout this entire time, he stood head and above so many leaders and people out there. And the way that he did it today was, I just thought, this is a masterstroke. When he spoke to British Parliament, what he did in invoking Churchill, of, we're going to fight in the shores, we're going to fight. He did the same thing, that sense, and people understood that. And the way that he weaves in both his native language and when he wants to get the message right to the people that are listening, he does it in English. And he did that today. He did. All that being said, no chance are you going to have a no-fly zone. Just not happening. It isn't. Not at this moment in time. But I tell you what, he absolutely delivered just a master stroke in minutes. Starting out, of course, greeting everybody in his native language.
I have the honor to greet you on behalf of the Ukrainian people, brave and freedom-loving people who for 8 years have been resisting the Russian aggression.
And while doing that, continuing to keep up his strength, but also reminding America and the people who are in power, who represent the true people that are in power, which is us, of what we're truly about. And reminding of us of our darkest days.
Remember Pearl Harbor, terrible morning of December 7, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you.
And after giving a very impassionate speech with the translator, it then goes dark and up comes a video. And a moving video. Before and afters of all the cities in Ukraine, young children who are playing, and then all of a sudden you see them on gurneys, and people that are walking down the street, and then there's explosions before and after of these cities that have been around forever, and seeing their cathedrals and their homes bombed out, and they're showing this gorgeous, landscape of Kyiv and Kharkiv and Mariupol, and then all of a sudden that same thing, it's dark and the sky is filled with black clouds and there's fire coming out of buildings, and then of course mass graves where kids and people are being put into. It is moving. And then when he comes back in English. And it was powerful.
I see no sense in life if it cannot stop the death.
And you're like, wow.
The Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine. We are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future.
Just a brilliant mastermind in the way that he did this. And then one last appeal, and this time directly to Biden.
The President Biden, you are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
Brilliant. Just brilliant. And again, we need to do everything we can to get everything that we possibly can that makes sense into the hands of the powers and the people over there that can do damage. But the no-fly zone is a no-go, and that has to be reiterated over and over. As moving as this was, understand tens of thousands is not tens of millions, and that's what could potentially happen. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Talk about that a lot today, obviously. Biden's going to be going to Brussels next week, which will be interesting to see how that plays itself out. Be interesting to see if Zelenskyy joins him in Brussels and then turns around and goes right back. You never know with this guy. That's the beauty of what this guy's done. He comes back. They've told him many occasions, it's time for you to leave. He refuses to do that. All that being said, there is still fighting going on. It is intense. It is getting ugly. And yes, Kyiv is the center of it.
Another residential neighborhood hit. Images hit from Ukraine emergency services showing an apartment block smoldering. As rescuers helped more than 30 people to safety who were trapped under the rubble. Yet more families made homeless by Putin's war.
The metro stations across Kyiv were built as nuclear shelters. And so thousands of the city's residents are now living hundreds and hundreds of feet underground to protect themselves.
Yeah, protect themselves. I mean, again, this stuff is built that way. I mean, the underground in London was during the bombings and the bombing of Britain. Everybody went to the underground. It's the same thing. You talk about my buddies who've been to Russia say, dude, when you take their underground, you have no idea how deep that thing is. Well, it's meant to be essentially a makeshift bomb shelter. That's what it is. The one thing going for the Ukrainians outside of everything is the fact that, quite frankly, the Russians are struggling. They're incompetent. They can't get anything in there. It's starting to warm up. So the fear, remember, one of the things we talked about is he didn't want to attack in a time like where stuff could get stuck in the mud. So he wanted cold, where things had hardened. Well, now that's going away. It's getting warmer. There's mud everywhere. The people are frustrated. They don't seem to be getting any supplies. They're losing generals. And when you start to see the fact that everything that they have to do, by the sounds of it, is coordinated from Moscow, so from the Kremlin, no matter what it is. Not the people on the ground, but the people in Moscow are handling the details. You're a sitting duck as you wait there. It's not working.
Morale among Russian soldiers is described as very low. A source telling ABC News as many as 10,000 Russian troops may have been killed so far. The source also saying the U.S. and other allies are looking at ways to send armed drones to Ukraine to help stop the Russians from advancing.
Yeah. And then people are like, are they going to send Reapers? No. Send the things that work. And the other thing is, would you want X amount of Reapers, or do you want thousands of these switchblade-like things that can go out and are easy to carry and control? That's what you need. You need people armed and ready, that they can be maneuverable, and you turn it into hell. You turn it into hell. And they're starting to feel it, too. I watch these people who live in Russia. There's several of them I follow. And I've followed them for a while. And, as I was trying to explain to people yesterday, their life was, especially in St. Petersburg, Moscow, and the bigger cities, was not too dissimilar to anything you'd find in Seattle or Minneapolis. Did they have the same stuff that we had? No, but a lot of their life was very similar. In Moscow and St. Petersburg, very, very, very upper crust kind of world. But they're walking through the stores, and the stuff that they can get is up 50, 60, 70%, sometimes even higher than that, and that's just now. They're feeling it, and they're feeling it, and they're feeling it. And with a lack of money and a lack of resources, people get pissed. And they're going to start to feel that more and more. The question is, what do we do with Putin? I think that's going to be the biggest question if this thing ends up in a stalemate that doesn't last for years, but he's still in power. He's ostracized from the world. What do you do with him? You're not going to bring him to The Hague. That's not happening. So he's just essentially captured in his own country and a few other places that he might dare go to. And the punishment of Russia continues until he's gone. Those things are going to be interesting to see. But Zelenskyy today addressing our government directly after spending the last several days addressing several other governments across the globe, including Canada yesterday, which was hilarious. He actually called him Justin. He said, Justin. Oh, that's not very nice. He called him Prime Minister, called him Justin, appealing to his humanity. Hey, Justin, imagine if your kids were stuck being held hostage at an airport. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us. Text the program. Lot to get to today. Tons of it. And there's plenty. Inflation. Daylight savings time. Could we be done with it for good? It is, of course, Wednesday. A little woke Wednesday stuff. The woman of the year used to be a man. So there's that. My God. By the sounds of it, from Caitlyn Jenner to Leah Thomas to the newest, latest woman of the year, I'm going to tell you this right now. It seems like it's pretty easy being a woman. It's not very nice, Chad. Car Shield, 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free white cars in the shop. You choose the shop. They get them paid directly. It's simple and easy. Doesn't get any easier than that, right? They get them paid absolutely direct. They do the paperwork. You pay a small deductible. With car prices going through the roof, with things like labor going through the roof, parts, of course, as we know, going through the roof and getting tougher to get, you better protect yourself. That's why you need Car Shield. Over 1 million drivers have trusted Car Shield, and the reason is simple. It works. Right now, that's what I want you to do. I'm going to go to carshield.com/Benson. Find out why 1 million drivers have trusted Car Shield. I want you to protect your car, protect your wallet, protect yourself. Simple and easy as that. They've got plans to fit anybody's budget. And right now, you're also going to lock in your price for life. So as long as you keep Car Shield, what you're paying now is what you're going to pay for as long as you go. They're not raising anything on you. Carshield.com/Benson or call 800-391-8888. You're going to save 10% right there. That is 800-391-8888 or carshield.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
Deep states? No. Deep doo-doo? Yeah. The Chad Benson Show.
A standing ovation.
That right there is the standing ovation you're hearing from, yes, the speech that Zelenskyy gave, including a video that, quite frankly, I'm going to be 100% honest with you. I turned and I'm like, I don't know if I really want to see this. And it is, he gets media. He gets it. He gets it in ways that is so real. You know, the one thing about Trump is, does he get media? Does he not get media? You know, like, he got media. But he got media to a benefit in ways that you know, were able to gin up his side and do certain things to tell the message in some ways that, yeah, obviously he wanted to tell, but to also reach out to people. The same could be said with this guy. Remember, he was a YouTube star / TV host. He went to law school, didn't want to be a lawyer. He wanted to be an actor and a writer, and became president of his nation. And in the most trying times of his nation, the guy is leading. And I said over and over again, I said, when push comes to shove today, he's going to speak English. Because he doesn't want his words to be misinterpreted. He wants everybody to hear everything he says. And when he showed that video, and you look out there, and want a lot of dry eyes out there. These are just a bunch of hardened old fools who only think of themselves. But when you see kids being dumped into graves, when they show cities that were majestic and ancient compared to, yes, even parts of Russia that are now on fire. He gets it. He does. I mean, I go back to it. The emotional side, I was telling the guys, the emotional side is, hell yeah, we want to go over there and we want to freaking drop kick him, right? We want to drop kick this guy. Putin is an absolute clown who is just awful. And when it happened, how it happened, where it happened, along the way, did he start to believe his own stuff along the way? Who knows? But what I do know is, and he's not a communist, first of all. Putin's not a communist. He's an authoritarian nationalist that realizes without capitalism, the country's nothing. But he wants to be what Xi is. He wants to have that power and control, to be looked at in the same vein as Stalin and Lenin. And to do so, he's willing to kill innocents. And today he asked, again, something that we cannot give him. And I love the changing of the way, instead of a no-fly zone, it's a word, humanitarian no-fly zone. A humanitarian no-fly zone. Oh, that sounds different. The Russians, by the way, in a lot of these things that they're doing, the sorties and some of the stuff, they're firing stuff from Russia and Belarus and not over Ukraine. Definitely a guy who gets it. We got to do everything we can outside of boots and going to war to make sure that he can fight this thing on as level of field as we can give him. Chad Benson Show.
Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
In the end, to sum it up, Today, it's not enough to be the leader of the nation. Today it takes to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace. Peace in your country doesn't depend anymore only on you and your people. It depends on those next to you, on those who are strong. Strong doesn't mean weak. Strong is brave and ready to fight for the life of his citizens and citizens of the world, for human rights, for freedom, for the right to live decently and to die when your time comes.
President Zelenskyy, the Ukrainian president, standing defiant, addressing both houses today, and delivering a speech first in his native tongue, Ukrainian, but then he showed a video of essentially before and after, as well as woven in between kids here playing and running with American flags and things of that nature, and then showing the aftermath of what's going on. Dead kids, dead citizens, people being buried in mass graves. And when he came back from that, he spoke in English because he wanted the moment that's not only sticking with people in the visuals, but he wanted nothing to be lost in translation. It was powerful. It was. And I told the guys, I don't know if I want to watch this video. I just don't. I'm sorry. I don't want to watch the damn video. It's in, but unfortunately it's kind of it's my gig, right? And it's tough. Again, we're emotional creatures. We are, right? That's why when, words are important. He's not asking for a no-fly zone. He's asking for a humanitarian no-fly zone. Words matter. How you say things matter. And, he addressed them, again, from the Churchillian way that he did stuff. And it was very Churchill-esque, the way he addressed Parliament, to addressing other nations. He has been spot on. There's no doubt right now. When people ask us, Putin this, Putin that, I said, no, the difference is they've got a leader in the Ukraine that's fighting. As much as their military is demoralized, a good portion of that is because, first of all, they were kind of all sent there for cannon fodder. Secondly, this is important. These people are fighting for their freedom. And they've got a leader who's willing to stand with them, who's willing to die with them and for them, whose family's at the same risk they are. There's no doubt in my mind, if we thought something was going to happen today, Biden would be on an airplane that is nuclear protected, getting to a bunker somewhere, ready to hunker down. It's understandable. This guy looks at it in a much different way. And he also looks at it in a way, too, where he's appealing to the world. Hey, guess what? There's two ways things are going to go. Authoritarian bad guys or peace, freedom, and along with that, there's going to be bumps in the road. Freedom always wins. No, it doesn't. Look at history. Freedom doesn't always win. The human spirit doesn't always overcome. In more cases than not, the a-hole with the bigger army overcomes. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Meanwhile, inflation, we know about that. All the things that are going on here. Enough about them. Back to us. What is going to happen, in particular with rates, as they try to have this balancing act of figuring out how they can blame Putin and at the same time understanding that inflation was taking a toll out of people long before the Pooter made his move.
The Fed's goal is to keep the U.S. economy running like Goldilocks porridge, not too hot and not too cold. The trouble is, and everyone at home can feel this, the economy right now is running too hot when it comes to prices, which have been going up for months on everything from your grocery bill to your gas bill.
Yeah, and that's not changing anytime soon. It doesn't matter. We're not seeing any slowdown. Everybody's doing what?
Some of the stuff that I normally would buy is like you get less than and you pay for more.
Yeah. Shrinkflation. Was it Doritos said they're taking X amount of chips out? I don't know what it is, 5, 10 chips out of their bags. I get these little, because I'm up at weird hours. And it's weird. Like my lunch is at 9 in the morning and stuff. It's kind of bizarre. But I get sometimes I'll just have a little soup, or I'll have one of those macaroni and cheeses that you can quickly, because I ate so solid, put it in the microwave. And the other day I opened it up and I'm like, there's 4 noodles in here. That's where they're at right now. And I paid the same damn price, if not more.
Frustrating, because now that everything is going up, that means our pay needs to go up.
But it's not. It's not keeping up. You may get a raise of 10%, but if in your neck of the woods, wherever you are, inflation's at 12, 13%, well, then you didn't get a pay raise to cover the cost of inflation. What you have is essentially something that's trying to keep up with inflation. So that's why they're going to play with rates. They're going to raise rates a little bit in hopes that it cools things down, makes money a little bit more expensive. Maybe people stop purchasing. If they stop purchasing, things slow down. But then you've got what's going on in China right now. Anywhere between 50 and 100 million people are going to be locked down because of their COVID zero policy, which makes 0 sense and has no chance. That's like saying today, nobody can drive in these states because they had a flat tire. Like, it's just not happening. But the places they're locking down matter, because the places they're locking down are places where there is big industry done. Foxconn, Apple, iPhones, things of that nature, chips, all of these things are being just shut down and coming to a halt. That's going to slow the supply chain down even more. So while and this is the problem when you let the economy get to a certain level and you let the economy start to go, and you still think you have the opportunity at some point in time to go, okay, we can tinker with this, we can adjust rates, we can do certain things to try to slow some stuff down. The problem with that is when we've done that in the past, we weren't so globally connected and intertwined. So us doing certain things may not mitigate what other people are doing now. So expect to pay more. Gas prices, obviously. Oil is in a weird thing. One of the reasons oil prices have stayed steady, they got up to $130 last week. They're sitting about 101. First of all, there's been a surprise in the building up of crude. The second thing is China, while they're buying some, may not need as much because of the fact that a lot of places are, at least for now, shutting down. In a weird way, COVID is helping us there. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from every single one of us. All that being said, we know about gas and the frustration that is going on there. And, of course, whose fault is it? Because it's so easy to do now, right? Like we talked about earlier, Zelenskyy. He wants a no-fly zone that's a humanitarian no-fly zone. Protect the people, which is what we like. Yeah, that sounds. We want that humanitarian no-fly zone. Well, now it's easy to go, well, it's Putin's fault, right? It's the Putin price hike.
The president is literally gaslighting the American people. He feels if he says it enough, people are going to believe that fuel prices were Putin's fault. We know that's not true. So, folks, let's all step up. Let's push this administration to get over their deranged climate policy, and let's unleash American energy.
Yeah. You're going to start seeing more and more of that. That's not an overnight thing. That isn't. It's not an overnight thing. It's going to take time. All the while that's going on, the White House is doing White Housey things to reach the youth of America.
This shows just how incompetent President Biden is, that now he's asking teenagers to do his job for him. I mean, think about that for a second. This is the president of the United States. It's bad enough that he's going around begging dictators to give us oil because he won't allow Americans to produce our own energy. But now he's going to actual teenagers and begging them on a Chinese-owned social media app to do his job. I mean, I've never seen anything like this. You cannot make this stuff up.
Yeah. And last week, Saturday Night Live was joking about the fact that they met early last week with a bunch of TikTok influencers on how they can do certain things. Some of it dealing with potential war stuff and other stuff to get their message out about why gas is so expensive. What?
Why is gas so expensive, and why is the United States inflation rate at a 4-time decade high? I had the opportunity to ask the White House why gas down the street is $7, and here's what they said. We are getting out of a 2-year pandemic. When use goes up, price goes up.
Yeah. So when use goes up, price goes up. Okay. Let's talk about Ukraine and the pooter.
About Ukraine and Russia, how does that relate? Russia is one of the top 3 producers of oil, and it is actually their #1 revenue source. Now, with Putin starting this horrific fight between Ukraine and Russia, nobody wants to work with him and do an international trade. So with people being scared of war and limited resources, prices are bound to go up as well. For the people who can't pay $7 for a gallon of gas, there's an app called Gas Buddy that shows you the cheapest gas near you.
Yeah. Oh, we've got more from their amazing time with influencers. Also, more of the speech today that Zelenskyy gave to both houses of Congress.
The Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine. We are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future.
Yeah. Zelenskyy today. We'll have more of that, some woke stuff as well, because it is a Wednesday. As their people are fighting for their lives, ours are fighting for their pronouns. You know life is good when you're like, the worst thing that happened to you today was you got misgendered. Like, that's the worst thing that happened to you. And by the way, nobody knows what gender you are. It's just that at that moment you felt something different. So you feel you should need a strongly worded letter to your college counselor to see if we could get this person fired. Calibrate. Losing weight is great. Do it with Calibrate. Calibrate's awesome. It's incredible. It's changing the way that people's lives are really going by addressing something that needed to be addressed, which is metabolism. Calibrate, you get FDA-approved medication, one-on-one doctor visits via video, which is simple and easy, and you get one-on-one coaching with an app. It's just amazing. So tell me about this FDA-approved medication. Well, here's how it works. It's simple. I just want you guys to understand this. You're going to make small lifestyle changes. Nothing drastic where it's like insane. You make small, real lifestyle changes, and you take the medication. That's it. And it's all about resetting your metabolism. Getting it to the point where it realizes that being thinner is healthier, and your body right now is at a position where it enjoys the weight it's at and it feels comfortable there. You need to go, hey, my body needs to be here. And that's what this does. On average, about 15%, a little bit more, is what the earliest Calibrate members lost. That's incredible. Small lifestyle changes. An FDA-approved medication fits in anybody's lifestyle. It's so simple and easy. Right now, get a $50 off. $50 off. 50. Simple and easy. 1-year metabolic reset. Go to joincalibrate.com. Use code CHAD. Doesn't get any easier than that. Joincalibrate.com. Use code CHAD. Joincalibrate.com. Use code CHAD. Save $50 off a 1-year metabolic reset. Chad Benson Show.
Running with scissors sounds great compared to this.
Say what?
Right now, the destiny of our country is being decided. The destiny of our people, whether Ukrainians will be free, whether they will be able to preserve their democracy.
Zelenskyy addressing the American people and directly our Congress, both houses today, appealing for help, humanitarian effort, but lethal force to drive back the scourge that is Putin and his army. On the other side of it, we have our president.
The First Lady's husband contracting COVID, but, pardon? That's right. She's fine. It's me. That's not together. The first gentleman. How about that? Anyway.
Oh, my God. Meanwhile, back at home. Oh, so you listen to Zelenskyy, right? And you're thinking, oh, okay. But you know what? He when he has to, he delivered straight out today in English the parts that mattered.
The President Biden, you are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world.
Biden?
Former Governor Jennifer Granholm, the Energy Department. She was the former governor of the state of Michigan. Michigan, wrong. She was a former state. She was a governor.
Oh, my God. That is hilarious.
No, it's not, actually. It's what happens when your grandfather, who are too old to drive a car, gets handed the keys to what is supposed to be the free world in a time of chaos and insanity. That's scary. Sorry, it is. It is. She's something, I'll tell you that right now. Meanwhile, back at home on this Woke Wednesday, while young men, women, and children, old men, women, and children are fighting the scourge of Putin and his army, here in America, in the safety of our woke and snowflakey world, we have
I think a lot of you are newer to my corner of the internet and don't know that I'm a gender fluid person. So you might have seen a video where I talk about being non-binary versus a video where I talk about being a trans girl, and they're both correct. This is the best way I can break it down.
It's not real.
I am a gender fluid person,
No,
meaning
you're
that
not.
I feel a fluidity between multiple genders, and some more some days than others. Some are situational, some are interdependent on the people that I'm with. So my core identity is being fluid. Wrap your head around that.
No, nobody can, because it's not real. You've made it up and you want to be special. That's what it is. You're not a woman. You're a guy who's got problems. And one of those problems is you are probably gay, don't want to come out really say it. And this also gets you a ton of attention. That's it. That's the reality. Oh, that's not very nice. Again, knock yourself out. But stop telling me I'm a woman today, but tomorrow I might be a man. And the next day I might be just Switzerland, neutral. Well, even Switzerland's picked a side now. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Are you saying the Swiss are no longer non-binary? Exactly. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Slava Ukraina! Slava Ukraina!
Nancy Pelosi, speaking for her teeth fell out. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Zelenskyy did it. Addressed them today, and it was powerful. It was powerful. This guy put on a master class of understanding the people that he's speaking to, not giving the same speech over and over again, being malleable and delivering the speeches that he needs to give in a way that the audience is going to understand. When he gave a speech the other day for Parliament, very much Churchillian. We'll fight them in the streets. We'll fight. Very reminiscent. Yesterday, he gave a speech to the Canadian Parliament, in which case he addressed it Justin Trudeau as not PM Trudeau, but Justin, appealing to him as being a father of a young child like he is. And today, his speech, well, he hit the notes of things that bring us together, the notes that things that remind us of what this great experiment is. Let me tell you something about democracy. It is messy and it doesn't last. We are an anomaly in the world of having freedom for all. It doesn't last. Go look. It falls apart. What usually wins? Authoritarian dictators. That's what usually wins. That's the thing that usually stands some sort of test of time, with people being half-assed trying democracy in certain areas. But having what we have, that experiment, that great, amazing experiment, again, with its flaws, with its warts and all those things, it doesn't last. But we've made it. And today, when he addressed Congress, both houses, he hit the places where we knew, oh yeah, that's why we are who we are.
Remember Pearl Harbor, terrible morning of December 7, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you.
Remember Pearl Harbor. He talked about 9/11, saying that 9/11 is going on in my country every day. And then the screen goes dark and a video comes up. And when the video comes up, it is a video of before and after in Ukraine, with mixed throughout portions of America and freedom and all of this stuff. A masterpiece of filmmaking in a way where you're putting it right there. Think about who's doing this, right? These are people on the ground there taking cuts and things and showing people who are walking down the street, and then all of a sudden an explosion. Buildings. They have all these amazing shots of how beautiful Ukraine is, in Kyiv and all these places, and Mariupol, and then all of a sudden it changes, and you have buildings that are destroyed, smoke coming out from them, and then of course dead children, women, old people being put into graves, mass graves, being tossed in, reminiscent of what we saw in World War II. And then when he comes back, he doesn't speak Ukrainian because he wants his words to be understood, not to get lost in translation, but to be understood. And he speaks English.
The Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine. We are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future.
And you're like, oh. And I said yesterday, he speaks English. And at some point, he is going to speak English in this because he doesn't want it to get lost. He wants them to hear everything he says.
Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
You're like, oh, that's powerful. And then, of course, to Biden himself.
The President Biden, you are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
It was powerful. Got a standing ovation before and after. A lot of people with tears in their eyes when they saw that video. But the reality is simply this. While you appeal for humanitarian no-fly zone, it can't happen. It can't, as much as we want it to. And he addressed that in it. He addressed that in this about, hey, come on, man, the skies are death.
Is this a lot to ask for, to create a no-fly zone over Ukraine to save people? Is this too much to ask? Humanitarian no-fly zone, something that that Russia would not be able to terrorize our free cities.
Yeah, it is. And he used that word humanitarian. Makes it seem like, well, it's just, but as we've talked about over and over again, to enforce the no-fly zone, to be able to enforce the no-fly zone, you are looking at situations where you're going to have to fire on not only Russian airplanes, but in many cases, things that are launched from the Russian side of the border, as well as Belarus. In several cases over the last week, the things that are coming not from inside of the Ukraine, but from Russia, even Russian air and Belarus airspace. Biden's pledged about $1 billion of aid, lethal aid. One of the things they're talking about is giving him as many as possible. He wants Reapers as well as airplanes. The Reapers themselves, you guys remember those? Those are drones that are deadly. But what they call a Switchblade or the Kamikaze or Samurai drone, that's the one we use to kill Soleimani. That is small, it's lightweight, it can go like 100+ miles, it can hover above the ground, depending on which one, from 15 to 40 minutes, and then it descends on its target, and it can be a tank or it could be a car, and when it goes through whatever it is, then it's like samurai swords come out and spin around. Those would be useful. Things that matter where you could take it to them while they, once again, brace for what is going to be a nightmare as night arrives.
Every night is a horrible night. The Russians are shelling from all kinds of artillery, from tanks. They're hitting civilian infrastructure.
Yeah, they just don't care. They don't. Poor leadership. They don't know what's going on. I don't even think Putin understands. You know, there's one of the things. Apparently, he is closing his little circle more and more because several generals have said that, oh, this will be easy, and find out it's not easy. I think he overestimated not only his army and military, but also his importance in the sense that he thought, nobody's going to take us off SWIFT. Nobody's going to stop us from oil. They're all, Biden and them and the world's only talk. No. And it's hell for them right now. And it's going to continue to be hell. What we need to do, though, is essentially the things we've been doing. Arm them with everything we possibly can. Offer as much humanitarian aid as possible. And then some. Because right now, it is tough. If you look over and see what's going on in Poland, you're starting to understand that, you know, what was supposed to be, maybe 3 million. They're talking 6, 8, 10 million potential refugees. That's a big ask for a lot of countries. And in many of these countries, people are putting people in their homes. They're not staying at shelters and stuff. They're putting them out of the kindness of their heart in homes. You've got essentially a refugee child every second, and the crisis is only going to get worse. And then you couple the fact that you've got the first and I think the 5th largest grain producers of wheat and exporters in the world throughout the Middle East and other places. You're starting to see a run on stuff because the fear is this stuff is going to get too expensive. There's not going to be enough of it. And you're going to have even more humanitarian crises in other places that depend on those things to feed their people. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot to get today's Woke Wednesday. Don't worry, we got a lot of woke stuff. Fun stuff indeed. I continue to go back to the fact that while our leaders stare at a leader today and listen to a leader today who is watching his men, women, children, young and old die, many young kids. I've seen kids like 14 and 15 who are out there fighting, potentially losing their lives. Back here in the beautiful, protected Western world.
In my experience of gender, non-binary is a wonderfully affirming label because I do not fit in the binary of just being a man or just being a woman. Being connected to womanhood and being a woman, though, is a huge informant to my identity.
Yeah. We've gotten soft, people. We've gotten soft. More of that. A lot of stuff to get to. MyPillow right now is an amazing deal. The Giza Dream Sheets, super cheap. The amazing MyPillow, absolutely the lowest price ever. The mattress topper, yeah. But how about this? The towels, incredible towels. I was talking to my wife. Her and my little one are get out of the jacuzzi right now, living their life large while I'm here, busting my butt. And what do they have? They have, yes, the MyPillow towels. Not lotiony, but soft, super absorbent, tons of colors, right? It is awesome. 2 hand towels, 2 washcloths, and 2 towels. Different color sizes to choose from. Normally $109.99, now $39.99. Boom! Say it again, baby. $39.99. Take advantage of this massive deal and all the other deep discounts by going to MyPillow.com/Benson. MyPillow.com/Benson. 6-day money-back guarantee. 1-year limited warranty. And save big. MyPillow.com/Benson or call 800-983-4975. Make sure you use the promo code Benson or MyPillow.com, promo code Benson. MyPillow.com/Benson. Chad Benson Show.
No need to socially distance while listening to your Chad Benson Show podcast. 4 out of 5 experts say so.
I'm a scientist. There is no corona.
But hurry before they change their mind. You know they will. Chad's podcast found on iTunes, iHeart, Spotify, and wherever you find your favorite COVID-free podcasts.
Oh my gosh. I kind of like it, I'm not gonna lie.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending.
What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending?
What is trending? The old interweb. Zelenskyy, obviously, on both Google and the Twitter world, delivering a passionate speech in both his native tongue, Ukraine, showing a video and then coming back from the video and delivering the last of the speech in English. And very, very powerful. Head on over to Google. Top of that, daylight savings time. Yeah, baby. So the Senate wants to make daylight savings time permanent. So I think the way it would work, because I'm here in Phoenix, for those of you guys who don't know, Phoenix is in Arizona, so read a book. We do not move. We stay the same all year. So, Pacific time, when everybody rolls their clocks back, we get an hour ahead of Pacific, and we're, then only 2 hours away from Eastern Standard Time. They want to keep it basically where it is now. So that's interesting. It looks like this has picked up a lot of steam and will probably happen, but not until 2023 by the sounds of it. Very interesting. Bob Saget's trending. They're still trying to figure out what took place. They know his head was cracked and it caused bleeding and the whole 9 yards, but there's still this, of course, debate is, some people say he fell on carpet. I don't know what kind of carpet would cause that unless you were jumping off something high in the air. I'm just saying, lots of NFL stuff. Anna Sorkin, if you don't know who she is, she was the fake heiress that swindled a bunch of money from a bunch of, socialites and the who's who of high society in the East Coast. And she is going to be deported. She's a trip, man. She's gonna be deported. If you've not seen that show, you should check it out. Becoming Anna. Head on over to Twitter where people are arguing. One thing that's neat on Twitter is a video of a 10-foot sturgeon that is massive. That is absolutely massive. People are saying it's time to send Donald Trump, the president, in his mind, still, to Brussels to meet with NATO leaders instead of Biden. Yeah, I don't think so. Because if he goes there, right, it's not, to me, it's just, what's he going to do? Is he going to spend all the time going, hey, can you guys look in to see if this thing was rigged? Oh, my goodness. That's not very nice. And Colin Kaepernick is trending because he's continuing his quest to get back into the slavery world of the NFL. Chad, he called it that, not me. Hasn't been in the league for several years. Hates the league and everybody involved in it, but enjoys the attention. And obviously, much like Kim Jong-un, people aren't paying attention to him. He's not coming back, by the way. Just let you guys know that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. A little wokeness straight ahead. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Remember Pearl Harbor, terrible morning of December 7, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you.
That right there is Zelenskyy addressing both houses today. Very powerful stuff. And again, appealing for more things, including a humanitarian side of closing the air over Ukraine. Joining us now is our military analyst who's been with us for the entirety of this, Mike Lyons. And all right, Mike, it was very powerful. It was very, in that video, I mean, if you're a human being, you have any feelings, it is tough to watch. All that being said, no, we're not going to have a no-fly zone.
Yeah, it didn't change the calculus of what a no-fly zone means. It's an act of war. It would mean us directly engaging Russian aircraft. It could mean us firing a Patriot missile on our side of the border, let's say from Poland or Romania, chasing down a Russian MiG-29 or something else and having that fly across the border into Russia and having it destroyed over Russia. So it is it's really that simple. It also would mean taking out and engaging directly targets on the ground, air defense platforms that the Russians have brought over in the border inside Ukraine. So it's, again, we just keep getting asked the question, well, what if we did it this way? There's no other way to do it that doesn't lead to the potential conflict with Russia. And that's just something we just can't afford to have right now.
Again, his speech was moving. The video was moving. He came back out afterwards, after doing the first portion of his speech with a translator. And then, of course, he wanted nothing lost in translation when it came to, the last of his speech. And he did it in English. And it was very powerful and moving. They love him. They're behind him. They're fighting like lions for him. And the stuff that we're going to send him, it needs to be simple. And you and I were talking about this off the air. The thought of sending some stuff, the surface-to-air missiles, this is not a video game, but there are things like javelins and stingers, those things that are good. They're talking about sending in those switchblade things that we killed Soleimani, stuff that's simple and easy to use.
Yeah, that's right. These got to be one-to-one weapon systems. What I mean for that is we take one weapon, we give it to one soldier, and they operate with one target. And if we do that a lot in the thousands, and we see in Javelin's case, the tens of thousands, we'll get real impact and effects on the ground by doing that. We can't send them these crew-served weapon systems. So air defense systems, the SA-300, for example, some of these ones require fire direction centers. They require forward spotters. They require complex communication and radar systems that we don't have or know we could get in place. And so that's go back to the planes too, right? The MiGs coming in from Poland. I'm not even sure that the Ukraine can absorb 29 planes right now. They don't fly many sorties, and that's because the airspace is still contested. If we brought them over, they eventually have to land. We've got to put them someplace. Well, I don't know where they would hide. The Russians would try to attack them on the ground. They have to be refueled. They have to be rearmed. They only carry about eight systems on them so far. So again, there's levels of complexity with these systems, which is why we have to dumb these down, get them simple things. Switchblade, that was that one system you just mentioned that killed Soleimani. That allows one soldier to basically take a device the size of an iPhone, have a drone fly about 50 miles on site, and then turns the drone into a kamikaze, takes out a target. You swarm, you do creative things with that. You're going to get a lot of effects on a lot of targets.
Michael Lyons, our military analyst, joins us. Okay, so all that being said, the chaos, the craziness that we know what's going on, small arms, one-to-one, the stalling that's happening right now. This is the nightmare that Putin didn't want. He was hoping the freeze would last much longer. It's getting muddy and nasty. They were trying to take some of the fight to the Russians today. The morale's not there. They're running out of any kind of steam that they have. And it just feels like now it's going to be nothing but bombardment of just intermittent firing night after night, trying to essentially kill and destroy as much as possible, a la Syria, Chechnya, Georgia. Pick your poison.
Yeah, and that's going to come from artillery, but every artillery round that's sent has got a return address. And so, the Ukraine military, we can help them by giving them systems that help find those artillery batteries because they're likely in fixed locations, and then using these switchblades, javelins, and the like to try to go and attack those artillery systems. I think that's their best bet, and that's probably what they're doing. That's what they're trying to do. That they've recognized that it's a stalemate right now. There's something called accumulation point in the military and military parlance, and what that means is at some point the offense runs out, and it runs out of ammo, runs out of fuel, runs out of food, and that's where the Russians are getting very close to. 8 or 9 days was predicted a few days ago, could be even sooner than that. And if they start beginning to be resupplied from, let's say, China or other nations, then we've got to go deal with that and make sure that that's not the case. But again, I know that's what the military is doing. The Ukraine soldiers are going after those artillery batteries. So let's give them the tools to take those things out so they can turn out those interdiction fires. Again, every artillery round's got a return address. Let's return those to senders.
You look at Putin, a lot of people now, stuff starts to leak out that his circle's getting smaller, that his generals overpromised and underdelivered. And now Lavrov is signaling that some of the stuff in the peace talks may be agreeable to. Is he starting maybe getting closer and closer, seeing all of the world basically condemn him, minus the worst of the worst, who really can't help him? Is he starting to maybe think about an off-ramp at some point?
Not sure. It depends on what his actions do instead of what he says. Russia's about to become very isolated, and the sanctions are lag indicators. And once they start to kick in as their economy crumbles, they could have real problems. Now, we also could back him into a corner and force a lot of things that we don't want to have happen as well. There are only a few countries in the world that have the capability to put a submarine in the Atlantic Ocean and fire a cruise missile at Washington, D.C. and hit multiple different targets there. And Russia's one of them. Russia does not like the United States. Russia recognizes that, if they go for the head, so to speak, if they cut off the head, they could really set us back. We're not in any position right now also to necessarily do anything on the ground there. We don't have enough troops there. It would take us years. If they decided to go into the Baltics, it would take years to muster the forces. So we're trying to still project power, but all our power still comes from space, and it comes from allies. We still have to be very careful what Russia does.
Did the situation in Ukraine and the battle that they're putting up and the fight they're putting up, did this give him a second thought about going into a place like the Baltics, thinking, no way, if we get through the Ukraine, we're going to have to devastate. There's going to have to be nothing left, and then we're on to something else. And at that point in time, you're just destroying things. You're not trying to grab pieces of stuff. It's just a march for the sake of death.
Yeah, I think that he had no expectation that this was going to happen. Surrounded himself with yes men who told him that this was going to be, something of liberation. They thought this would be over within 48 to 72 hours. And here we are in week 3 already, and literally a stalemate. The fact that they're reporting, tens of thousands, 10 to 12,000 Russian soldiers killed, unheard of. 400 or 500 tanks destroyed, unheard of when you think about it. And they haven't even gotten close to any kind of siege inside of Kyiv. You've got people still living inside there. They're in bomb shelters and they're enduring a tremendous hardship. Don't get me wrong. But they're surviving, and it looks like they're continuing to survive. It's not Stalingrad. You go back to in history and find places where this happened before. There was 1 million soldiers on both sides, and that thing lasted 6 months. So the Russians did not bring enough to the table. They didn't bring enough equipment, men, material, and they're about to run out of it all. And Vladimir Putin is going to be really short for trying to figure out an off ramp, and he's going to look really foolish once he's not declared victory inside Ukraine.
Talking to retired Army Major Michael Lyons, military analyst. I had several people over the last couple of days say, what is all this talk about? He goes, Chad, you're full of this talk of Odessa, an off-ramp for him. Explain to the people why Odessa, if they start to get bombed, then things are really going to go south. Why that is still an off-ramp for him if he doesn't go after it.
So it allows Ukraine, a city on the Black Sea. He's gained enough ground to the east of Odessa, in Crimea already, which is there, and then Mariupol, which is likely what he's going to insist on trying to take, become part of a Russian federation that exists in that area. So let's say the boundary of Ukraine gets redrawn somehow. Odessa gives Ukraine a port city, and without that, they won't negotiate it if they don't have that, because you have to have that to be a country. You have to be able to have a navy. You have to be able to reach your goods and services through other countries. So they're not going to go from being a country that had access to the sea to one that's not. So by not doing that, it's one of two things. He's either so focused on winning over those eastern provinces and those places where he wants to create new federations that he's just spread himself thin, and he can't get Odessa. But I think he's also kind of leaving that as a bargaining chip on the table, saying he's not going to go into that. Now, one more thing. The military in the South is doing much better, though, than the military in the North. When we study this for years now, and NATO's going to study two things. They're going to study how much Russia's failed and what they failed to do, and they're going to study what exactly the Ukraine government did and what the Ukraine defenses did in order to do what they've done. But the Russian military in the South has been a little bit better than what we see in the North in terms of two different campaigns.
China, the thought of what are they going to do, because right now their market, the stock market, has struggled. The wanting to turn it from more capitalist, last year to more of a Mao-like look that Xi was pushing for is not going the way that a lot of people thought. And then you're hearing more and more rumblings, even though Xi still has power, that people are a little nervous over there of getting bogged down in something like this, and that the potential, for us to start throwing sanctions on him would hurt him. I don't think they're going to get as involved as people, originally thought they were going to be, outside of purchasing a few things.
We'll see, and they can make up for some of the losses that will happen on the energy market that Russia puts out there. But the bottom line, though, is the part of the reason why we also can't do anything militarily in Russia right now is because the whole world is really not behind it. We've got a pretty good alliance, but unless you had China and India and all these other, you have 4/5 of the world on your side, then that's one thing. But we don't. The Indian government is not come out against this, and China still is trying to kind of figure it out as they see what would the reaction would be if they decided to take Taiwan. So I the meeting they had, I was at yesterday with the Chinese officials. Again, don't get me in the room with Chinese authorities. If we need strong ambassadors right now, where we show U.S. American power to these Chinese people and say, look, if we even think that you're getting involved supporting Russia on this, we're going to put sanctions on you. We're going to start this trade war with you, in the same that we're done with Russia, and it's going to have a bigger impact on you than it will have on Russia, because under no circumstance would that be the right side of history for the Chinese to be on.
What is it with the fact that, I look at Blinken and a lot of these, they just seem weak. And why is it wrong for us to remind everybody, hey, guess what? Our tools are as big, if not bigger, and unlike yours, they're tested and they work. Why don't we do that?
I don't know. I mean, people are people, and administrations pick people in their administration that reflect their leaders. I have the Deputy Secretary of State, Wendy Sherman, for example, nice person. And I don't want to say anything bad about social workers, but her background's in social work. And those people are fundamentally helping people all the time, let's say, right? Well, that doesn't work when you're dealing with despots and you're dealing with people that want to kill you in some ways. And so we seem to be negotiating from a position of weakness. You're right, when we should be negotiating from a position of strength. I think if there's one thing that needs to be figured out right away when this is over is, well, old school deterrence did not work. It didn't keep Vladimir Putin from invading Ukraine. So what's it going to take now going forward? And frankly, from Machiavelli's, it's based on fear. And we've got to get back to the place where these countries fear us. Like them, love them. Ronald Reagan was more feared by Russians. Donald Trump was probably more feared by Vladimir Putin. I think that has a lot to do with it. We see a little bit of history repeating itself right now from the 70s into the 80s. We had a very weak president, Jimmy Carter, that let the Russians invade Afghanistan. We had what happened in Iran. All those things were accumulated, and it was all over as soon as Ronald Reagan raised his hand, put his hand on the Bible, and became the president, when he said we're no longer going to position ourselves as being weak.
Mike Lyons, always love having you on, man. The insight's great. You have yourself a wonderful day. We'll do it again.
Thanks, Chad. Thanks for having me.
Thanks. At Chad Benson Show, Twitter, ChadBenson. Eden is great. And I'm telling you guys right now. So for those of you who don't know, my father-in-law passed away. We have 2 houses, and my mother-in-law, we decided, well, we're going to move over there because we've got extra bedrooms and things. So we did. And he was a smoker, and you could smell it. And Eden Pure said, hey, try this stuff that we got, right? And I said, okay, what is it? They said, it's amazing, okay? It's called the Oxyleaf 2 Thunderstorm. It is incredible. Within minutes, it smelt like it was a thunderstorm, if you will. And lo and behold, you can't tell anybody's ever smoked in the house. It is awesome. Other great thing, plug it straight in. Boom, baby. No filters, super quiet. 150,000 sold. Takes up 0 floor space and no filters. Love it. Right now, save $200 by using code CHAD3. That's $200 savings on the Eden Pure Thunderstorm 3-pack. Get full coverage for your kitchen, your home, everywhere you want to get rid of odors. Go to EdenPureDeals.com. Put in discount code CHAD3 to save $200. That's EdenPureDeals.com. Discount code CHAD3. Shipping is free. EdenPureDeals.com. Code CHAD3. Chad Benson Show.
Helen Keller is a Nazi terrorist that is a male. Is that what you're telling me right now?
Yeah.
Are you thinking of Hitler?
Who's Hitler?
Vaccines work, but only the Chad Benson Show is 100% effective against stupidity.
Do you know what D-Day is? D-Day.
A person? A rapper?
God, Karen, you are so stupid.
Check us out on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and wherever you find your favorite woke-free podcasts. This is the Chad Benson Show.
We've got to get back to the place where these countries fear us. Like them, love them. Ronald Reagan was more feared by Russians. Donald Trump was probably more feared by Vladimir Putin. I think that has a lot to do with it. We see a little bit of history repeating itself right now from the 70s into the 80s. We had a very weak president, Jimmy Carter, that let the Russians invade Afghanistan. We had them. What happened in Iran? All those things were accumulated in the second. It was all over as soon as Ronald Reagan raised his hand, put his hand on the Bible, and became the president when he said, we're no longer going to position ourselves as being weak.
Mike Lyons, if you guys missed any of the interview, check out the podcast. Just great insight, including why people have been hitting me up over and over again saying, what's this whole thing about Odessa? You're fooling yourself. Just the notice that, while Odessa's bracing for something, the reality is that could potentially be the off-ramp that is still available if Putin chooses to step away and say, all right, we've done enough. We can take all this land, Donbass, all these regions. We'll fold it into Russia. And he can go back and say, I've exorcised the demons and I've gotten rid of all the Nazis. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Like I say, if you have a chance, grab the podcast. Much appreciated. You'll enjoy it. It's good the second time around. It's like, it really is. And you might have missed some of the great stuff. And Mike Lyons always has great insight. So you can get it Spotify, iTunes, all the good places where, podcasts are available. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Members of Congress, I have the high privilege and distinct honor of presenting to you the President of Ukraine, Volodymyr Zelenskyy. Slava Ukraina! Slava Ukraina!
Members of Congress, I would just like to say, coming to the stage.
Somebody tweeted earlier. It sounded like Nancy Pelosi was introducing somebody on the Oprah show. And you get a weapon, and you get a weapon. He did address both houses today. And man, did he do a job. It was amazing. Talk about a guy who gets it. Talk about a guy who understands what he's doing. Let's not forget, he is new to politics because he was, after college, went through law school, was a comedian, right? He was a YouTube sensation and a TV star that really, in a moment of, potential madness, is because his wife was not a fan. She's like, I don't want you to do this. When his show was massive, and it was based on the fact that there was a teacher who has this crazy rant that goes viral, and then that guy ends up becoming the president of Ukraine, kind of like what he was. And now he is facing an enemy that is coming hard and raining hell on him. And today, the way that he delivered this message, first, starting out in Ukrainian.
I have the honor to greet you on behalf of the Ukrainian people, brave and freedom-loving people who for 8 years have been resisting the Russian aggression.
And he hit the notes he had to hit. He hit the notes he had to hit, including talking about 9/11, as well as
remember Pearl Harbor, terrible morning of December 7, 1941, when your sky was black from the planes attacking you.
And continuing in Ukrainian to talk about the evil of what's taking place. And a master orator, understanding the audience. He did it with the Brits in his Churchillian-like manner, delivering the speech that in many cases somewhat, well, and 100% paid homage to, we'll fight on, the beaches, we'll fight everywhere, essentially. He's like, we're going to fight in the streets, we're going to fight in homes, we're going to fight, very Churchillian. Yesterday, addressing the Canadians and invoking a personal side where he addressed Trudeau, not as prime minister, but as Justin, as a father. Hitting where he had to hit. And then it goes dark. And up comes a video. And it's powerful. Before and after of Mariupol and Kharkiv and what's going on currently in cities and towns across the Ukraine, including what's happening in Kyiv, and then the deaths. Before and after. And woven in between are little kids playing and running with American flags and all. I mean, it was everything that that he's trying to hit these notes with. And then afterwards, he takes a different approach because he no longer uses a translator. Afterwards, he comes out and he doesn't want any of these words to be lost in translation.
The Ukrainian people are defending not only Ukraine, we are fighting for the values of Europe and the world, sacrificing our lives in the name of the future.
Powerful. And then he addresses Biden directly.
The President Biden, you are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
He hit all the notes. He played it right. All that being said, we have to stay strong. And the strong is we're going to provide you with everything we can, humanitarian-wise and military-wise, to give you as much of an equal footing against what barrage that they're bringing. But the no-fly is a no-go, and it has to be that way. It does. It has to be that way. And it sucks, right? Because we look over and we see the bully, and he's a Richard, and we just want to stomp on him, and we want to just make this thing, let's just do what we need to do. But the alternative is far worse than what's happening right now. Because the alternative is truly a world war. The alternative is 20 plus nations getting into a war with Russia, a nuclear power. And of those other nations that will be with us, guess what? Some of them are nuclear powers. And tens of thousands of deaths could become tens of millions. And that is not something that at this moment we're going to do. So we make sure we do everything we can to get them every possible thing we can, humanitarian-wise, for the countries that are taking in the refugees, as well as the absolute best stuff that we can get them that they can use. And we talked to Mike Lyons in the last hour. If you missed any of it, grab the podcast. And he pointed out it needs to be, it's KISS, keep it simple, stupid. They want surface-to-air missiles. This is not just rolling something over there and they're going to, like, okay, you do this, this, and this. It's like with the airplanes. The reality is there's a lot that goes into it. It's not a video game. But with the javelins, with the switchblade, the kamikaze, whatever you want to call it, the stingers, you supply them with enough of those things that are one-to-one, disposable, easy to use, almost idiot-proof, if you will, and allow them to go at it. And he said, you still got to have the balls to go out and shoot those things. But the reality of some of this other stuff, it's shiny, but it's too complex for what they need at this moment in time. So this is where we are. Not a lot has changed. The battle is still raging. And while everyone seems to be as united as they can be, Kevin McCarthy,
that room's united to defend and help Ukraine.
At the end of the day, there's only so much we're going to be able to do.
Provide them the MiGs so they can have a no-fly zone created by themselves with their own pilots. Let them defend themselves. That's all they're asking for. But let's ramp up the sanctions as well.
But military people tell you it's not easy flying the MiGs and giving it to them. If you go back to, here's a perfect example. Go back to World War II. So for those of you guys who don't know, World War II, the Brits who were like begging us, get into this thing, man. We're getting bombed. We need planes. We're like, we can't directly give you planes because we can't be seen as a participant in the war. So they came up with an idea. We're going to fly the planes as close as we can to Canada. We're going to take out all the gas. We're going to strip it down of any American thing. Then Canadians are going to hook the actual planes up to horses, and they're going to drag them across into Canada, in which case they can then take off and deliver them. Like, that's the kind of, like, things that we had done in the past to do as much as we could indirectly. And there are still things we can do. But over the next coming, we're still in the midst of a 36-hour curfew in Ukraine, in particular in Kyiv, as they expect it to get more and more. The more they hold out every day, the worse it gets for the Russian troops. And at some point, they've got to start thinking, how do we take it to them, which they did some of it today. How do we make sure, though, that we can destroy any of their supply line down the road from getting there, breaking them off? Because that's the big thing. They're running out of food. They're running out of, well, their morale is way down in the dumps. These are the things you've got to do. And the sanctions are going to have to play their part. And the sanctions are going to play their part over time. And you're already seeing it. You're seeing it. And just like we had the lagging effect of gas prices, last week they jumped up, and this week we're like, why are prices going down, even though, oil's come down a bit? Because there's a lagging kind of thing. That is going to be hitting the Russians in the next several days in a major way. Companies leaving, a pariah to the world. They're missing debt payments. We're going to start to see this in a much broader way in the coming days as the effect to the Russian people, who could still go places and get things relatively easy, even though things have gone up by 20, 30, 40%. In the next couple of weeks, they're not going to get a lot, and stuff will have gone up tenfold. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show's your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. A lot of stuff still to get into. Rate hikes this week. What's that mean? Talk about that. Woke Wednesday. We got some woke stuff. Daylight savings time. Is it time for it to go? Oh, is it? Maybe. Maybe it is. I'm thinking maybe it is. Car Shield. 24/7 roadside assistance. Rent a car for free while your car's in the shop. You choose the shop. They get them paid directly. Doesn't get any easier than that. You pay a small deductible. Car prices through the roof. Yeah. And because of that, so is fixing your car and getting a car and getting those parts with supply chains all over the place. Why not protect yourself with Car Shield? Car Shields is incredible. America's #1 auto protection company. Over 1 million drivers have been helped with Car Shield. Why not be one of them? They got plans to fit anybody's budget. And here's the other thing with Car Shield. Right now, when you sign up with Car Shield, you lock in your rate for life. It's never going to go up. Save 10% right now by going to carshield.com/Benson or call 800-391-8888, 800-391-8888. Lock in your plan and pricing for life, or go to carshield.com/Benson. Save 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
Welcome to Chad. No, not the country. The institution. The Chad Benson Show.
I think the majority of the American people's preference is just to stop the back and forth changing.
Yeah, Marco Rubio, I'm with you. Let's get rid of this damn thing. It's weird. I live in Arizona. The time doesn't move. So there's no swinging forward and falling back. But because I do my show on Eastern Standard Time or Pacific Standard Time, I still have to adjust with it. But I always thought it was stupid. I'm like, why are we doing this again? Why? Well, finally, people, in particular, actual politicians, may be doing something that may benefit us all.
Daylight saving time could soon become a thing of the past, and Senator Marco Rubio says it's about time.
I think the majority of the American people's preference is just to stop the back and forth changing.
The Florida Republican and his Senate colleagues on both sides of the aisle have approved making daylight saving time permanent, ending the biannual ritual of turning clocks back or forward depending on the season, a practice most of the U.S. has carried out since 1918.
And one has to ask themselves after a while, why do we keep doing it? Why are we doing this?
The measure now needs House approval, then President Biden's signature.
Yeah, we'll see if it was going or is going to happen, which I think it probably will. Won't happen until 2023. But the beauty of this is, well, there's so much, right? Seasonal depression. It's one of the things that people talk about. I know this. I always tell everybody, the hardest time for me is even in the winter months because I work such weird hours, driving in the morning when it's dark and driving home at night when it's dark. I like it right now. I get home, it's still a little bit of light out, and over the coming weeks and months, it'll be lighter and lighter. But it's also just, it's better. It's stupid. Now, the weird thing is, if you're on the East Coast, during the winter, you get an extra hour of sunlight, but you're also going to not see the sun come up till about 8 in the morning. So that'll be kind of weird. But I don't live on the East Coast, so I don't care. So there's that. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. All that being said, we do have other things going on. That's called inflation. What are we going to do with, I don't know, interest rates?
The Federal Reserve today is expected to begin hiking interest rates for the first time since the pandemic. They will start by hiking them 0.25%. And what that ultimately means is that you'll pay more money on borrowing money, everything from a new mortgage to a new car loan to your credit cards. This is meant to slow things down, to slow down our spending in an effort to stabilize prices.
Yeah. So that way we can bring in line, demand and supply. Is what they're hoping, and what they do when they raise interest rates, they're raising rates on the borrowing from bank to bank kind of thing, lending money from each other, which they'll pass it on to you, so rates will go up, and they've slowly been rising in anticipation of something like this. But they're trying to do everything they can, but it's a different world. Back in the day, it was much easier when we were more self-contained and we weren't supply line potentially, being punished for supply lines being broke. We weren't so intertwined with each other like we are now. And because of that, we get cheap goods, which is fantastic, which we know we love, because we go find cheap labor, but we don't want to pretend that that's out there. That being said, it isn't always going to work that way like it did in the past. And I think they're starting to realize, I think that the Fed and people looking around, Janet Yellen came out and she's like, well, here's the Treasury Secretary. She's like, well, inflation's going to be here for a bit. And it's not really going anywhere. No matter what the White House tries to do to spin it, this is the issue that we're going to have for a while. And they don't have the same kind of feel and touch on the economy as they once did. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Massive earthquake in Japan. Tsunami alert. We'll talk about that. More on Zelenskyy addressing Congress today. And, of course, it's Woke Wednesday, so we'll get woke. Because you know what? It's truly, truly easy being a woman. So easy a man could do it. What? Yeah. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
A little over an hour ago, Japan was hit with a massive earthquake, 7.3 magnitude. Central to Japan, tsunami advisory has been issued. That's a big one right there, 7.3. You must have really pissed off Godzilla. You guys woke me up. What's going on? I got stuff going on. All right. You guys still worried about that COVID thing? Yeah, yes. Yeah, that's weird. I'm going back to sleep. Don't be doing this again. So Zelenskyy today spoke. Brilliant speech. Doesn't mean anything's going to change. Russia's still going to do what Russia does, which is attack. There are signs that maybe there's some wiggle room in certain areas, that they're coming to some agreement. But it's going to be a situation, and Zelenskyy said it yesterday, chances are we're never joining NATO, the EU. Basically, they want assurances that they're going to be neutral and they're going to carve out chunks of land. And that's probably the best scenario that we have left.
Ukrainian President Zelenskyy says Russia's latest demands are, quote, more realistic, but he did not elaborate and said patience is needed. Zelenskyy posting the update early Wednesday from Kyiv, just hours after a U.S. official told ABC News Russian forces intend to hit the capital city with indiscriminate bombing, saying there are more worries about Zelenskyy's safety.
Yeah, because it's becoming indiscriminate. They're firing. They're also in a situation where the Russians, they're miserable, right? It's the weather's turning nasty, where it's getting muddy. They're sitting out there at times like just sitting ducks. The Ukrainian freedom fighters, the Ukrainian army, the citizens are picking them off and making their life hell. And by the way, they're hungry.
A U.S. official telling ABC as many as 10,000 Russian soldiers may have died. And in Moscow itself, the Kremlin cracking down on dissent. Some 15,000 protesters against the war have been detained.
Yeah. And speaking of that, Maria Yanikova is reporting about the lady who bravely on state-run TV had the sign and runs behind about the Russian war as they're broadcasting propaganda.
Tonight, the world's newest symbol of Russian defiance unbowed as she left a Moscow courthouse. Marina Ovsyannikova, a producer at Russia's state television, arrested after interrupting a live broadcast with this sign: "Stop the war. Don't believe the propaganda. They're lying to you." Earlier, she recorded this video for a Russian opposition group. "I am ashamed I allowed lies to be told on TV screens," she said. "I am ashamed I allowed Russian people to be fooled."
Yeah. She was fined $300 yesterday, American style. And she faces still the potential for prison. And she is still out there pushing and pushing and pushing.
The Kremlin dismissing her protest as hooliganism. Today, she was released and ordered to pay a fine. It's unclear if she'll face further charges. Outside court, no regrets.
It was my own anti-war decision.
Заради чого?
In Kyiv, President Zelenskyy publicly thanking her and those who fight disinformation and tell the truth, real facts to their friends and loved ones.
Yeah, what is real facts? You know, somebody just tweeted at me about, oh, we got to stand up to authoritarianism and democracies. That's what we're doing. And we're doing it with lies just as much as they do. We as a nation are so full of disinformation and BS. So let's not pretend. And we do it to them as much as they do it to us. And we've both got willing audiences at times. The difference is our information is a free-flowing information, unless, of course, the giant companies and powers that be don't want certain information out there for whatever reason, mostly because they're woke. And they don't like those discussions because they could hurt somebody. But the reality is we all play the game. Here's the difference. Morally, we look and say, our way's better, right? Your way sucks. Putin's not communist. He's Soviet. He's not communist. He wants what Xi has. He wants to be able to control things, use the nation as his piggy bank for him and his buddies, and pillage and have control and power and build himself an empire of which he would be, lauded for years and decades and generations to come. But he knows he's got to do it with capitalistic markets because he understands that the old Russian Soviet communistic way never worked. But, it's like the whole thing with the biolabs. You hear people, oh, Tucker and Tulsi Gabbard, they should go to jail. And I'm just like, what are you guys talking about? They're talking about bioweapons. Yeah, some of the stuff they say is a bunch of crap. But are there labs there? Yes or no? Because according to us and stuff, yeah, there's been labs there. Why would there be labs there? Well, where are we going to keep them? We're not keeping them here, obviously. Come on, of course. Where else would you put it? Put it in places where you're like, well, nobody really lives out here. And, So, now, are they bioweapons? No. Could they be doing something similar? Maybe what we saw in Wuhan? It's a fish market? No, you know what I mean. But all of it is a game of BS and disinformation and half truths and partial truths and telling one side of the story. But at the end of the day, our way's better, right? We don't want authoritarianism. We want free elections, which we have. No, don't, it was stolen. Shut up. We want to be able to come out and chastise our leaders. And, she goes on TV the other night and she holds up the sign, right? So she does that. And by the way, the lady that is reading, man, she never moves. She is as stoic and stone-faced as you find as she just delivers the BS as it goes, right? And then they come and it goes black and then she's gone and back to the BS it goes. And they know it's baloney. Right? And they're continuing to push it out, pump it up, pump it up, pump it up, pump it up. Today I'm watching, the the talking head people all out on the grass out there at the Capitol after Zelenskyy gives his thing. There's hundreds of people with signs saying all kinds of crazy things behind them, from, the election was stolen to hands off my body to stop the war, get out of NATO, and all these things. That's our freedom right there. Yeah. America and democracy has warts. Absolutely. 110%. But the others, their way has a lot more than just warts. I'm just saying. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. All that being said, as the world fights, we here are as woke as possible. As young men, women, children, old men, civilians fight for their lives in a horrific invasion by a nuclear power, our kids over here are fighting too.
I think a lot of you are newer to my corner of the internet and don't know that I'm a gender fluid person. So you might have seen a video where I talk about being non-binary versus a video where I talk about being a trans girl, and they're both correct. This is the best way I can break it down. I am a gender fluid person, meaning that I feel a fluidity between multiple genders, and some more some days than others. Some are situational, some are interdependent on the people that I'm with. So my core identity is being fluid. Wrap your head around that.
No, we can't, because it's fake. If you can say that, why can't I say today I feel like I'm a rabbi, and tomorrow I might feel like I am a Hindu, and then one day I may feel like I'm black, and the next why can't I? I mean, because of what? No, you're making a choice because you want to feel like you're special. It's part of the excitement of being cheered on and being in a group of intersectionality where you've now placed yourself on the hierarchy of stuff.
In my experience of gender, non-binary is a wonderfully affirming label because I do not fit in the binary of just being a man or just being a woman. Being connected to womanhood and being a woman, though, is a huge informant to my identity.
You're not a woman, right? You're not a woman. You're not. Period. Case closed. End of story. Not a woman.
It's why I use both they and she as a pronoun, because I feel like it represents this tension between being fluid between the two and also holding both of those fixed spaces in different times. It's not a contradiction because gender is too multifaceted and we as humans are too complicated to be boiled down to just a couple of words. Wrap your head around that.
You can't, because it's all made up. You're full of crap and it's all made up. All that being said, it's pretty easy being a woman. That's what I hear. You guys remember when Bruce Jenner became Caitlyn Jenner, and then she was the Woman of the Year? And, of course, Leah Thomas is just destroying every record out there because, she's a woman. And, of course, we got a new Woman of the Year.
Women are often the creators of change. In terms of the changes that we see in our society and our culture, I think that women are those change makers.
Admiral Rachel Levine is a groundbreaking leader, public health champion, and an advocate. Last year, Rachel made history, becoming the first openly transgender 4-star officer across uniformed services.
And so we really need to welcome diversity and actually celebrate diversity.
That's right. You're like, well, what's wrong with that, Chad? Oh, it's pretty simple, because Rachel wasn't always Rachel. By the way, fooling nobody. Just going to throw it out there. Wow. You're the Woman of the Year. I saw even people that are woke and women out there are like, this feels like it's more of a you're trying to make a statement to be woke than anything else. And by the way, not all of us about, because she, who used to be a he, is now a she. At least she went the full Monty, apparently. Also because you in Pennsylvania got your mother out of nursing homes, all the while allowing a very Cuomo-esque situation to have and happen in nursing homes. That's very Woman of the Year.
Now my role nationally has all led to this moment.
And she plans to meet this moment with courage and integrity.
My definition of courage would be to be true to yourself and to be true to who you are.
And my truth. I like that. It's my truth. Hey, producer Phil, I am the world boxing champion. I won it in 1989 when I knocked out Mike Tyson. That's my truth.
That's amazing. I never knew that.
Yeah, well, it's my truth. That's all that matters. My God. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson shows your Twitter. A few more woke things. Wrap it up. Talk about Zelenskyy again. And the amazing speech he gave today to Congress that was truly just an awesome speech, but it still changes nothing. Rough Greens, ruffgreens.com/Chad, is amazing. Now, my dog Doodle, I've talked about Doodle numerous occasions. Doodle's older, right? Like, so Doodle, when we got him, he was, I'm pretty sure they dyed his hair because he turned white rather fast. And they told him, yeah, he's 3 or 4, and he was like 6 or 8 or 9 or 10. So we found out. We took him into the doctors. He's got so much energy because of Rough Greens. He's got vitamins, minerals, probiotics, omega-3, 6, 9, all these incredible things. It can't fix his eyesight. But, man, he runs around. I got home last night. He was so excited to go in the house. He tried to go through the door because he couldn't see, and it was hilarious. But he got up and tried it again. Didn't work. But I tell you what, 3 years ago, he wouldn't even got off the couch because he was in so much pain. Rough Greens works. If you worry about your dog's hips, their joint pain, and many other things, try this supplement. Rough Greens wants you to try it before you buy it. ruffgreens.com/Chad. Watch what happens. The aches, the pains, the energy, you will see a marked change in your dog. Try it for free. Cover the cost of shipping. ruffgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MY-DOG-77. Rough Greens makes any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
To be free. I am not a terrorist. I am not Antifa. I am not a sex slave that wears masks.
Don't be a cutie pie.
Probably sit around and cook some soups and eat bread and desserts and just get all fat and sassy.
You're running my life, bud! Yeah, you haven't seen anything yet.
You're listening to The Chad Benson Show.
The President Biden, you are the leader of the nation, of your great nation. I wish you to be the leader of the world. Being the leader of the world means to be the leader of peace.
Zelenskyy today delivering a powerful message to Congress. Both chambers were there. It was moving. And he did in both his native Ukrainian as well as at the end a moving speech and delivery of really a plea for all that we can do. And there's still a situation where you look, no-fly zone is where we're at. But we do need to remind everybody else, don't take our kindness for weakness. We're still America, and at the end of the day, we're still the biggest dog and the toughest dog on the block, which always seems to elude a lot of people.
Zelenskyy has the courage of his convictions. The question he asks the Congress and the United States government is, will we have the courage of ours? We're a superpower. We should act like it.
Yeah. And I think there is a lot to that because I don't think we always act like it. And I think we're too busy, both The Atlantic, I think Wall Street Journal, both in the last several days have come out with really great articles about, hey, stop telling everybody all the things we won't do. Stop doing it. Stop doing that. Start acting like what we are, which is the most powerful nation on earth and that beacon on the mountain. We just have to be, look, we've got to be honest with Zelenskyy. We're going to do everything we can for you to kill as many of these guys as you possibly can, to destroy the morale, to do everything. We are going to not limit any of the stuff that we can give you when it comes to javelins and stuff that can actually be used in the field. As far as the no-fly zone, it ain't happening. It isn't. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program. Love hearing from all of you. I answer all the tweets and the emails and whatnot. So if you tweet at me or you text the program, know that when somebody gets back to you, it's me. But I do get a lot, so some days I can't get back to everybody. You guys have an amazing, incredible rest of your day. And God bless those people in Ukraine fighting their asses off and surviving as best they possibly can. We will do it again tomorrow, as always. Got you over the hump. Night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.